Philippines, good day. This is Arabella de las Peñas.
And I'm Marjorie Galera. This is PC News.
Our headlines for today. The Middle Ages, birth of an idea.
The Black Death of medieval era.
The Crusades of medieval era.
The Middle Ages art and architecture.
The Middle Ages, economics and society.
A large number of inventions came to be during the medieval ages.
Art of culture of medieval Greece and Rome in the 14th.
The Middle Ages, birth of an idea. I, Cambalon, has news.
The term Middle Ages, usually referred to as the medieval era, provides us with more information about the Renaissance that succeeded it than it does about the actual era. European philosophers, poets, and artists started to reflect on the honor and the art of culture of classical Greece and Rome in the 14th century. As a result, they wrote of the time after Rome fell as a middle or even dark era, during which no significant advances in science, great works of art, or great leaders were created. This viewpoint held at the Middle Ages advance of their forebears and become entangled in barbarism and religion, as described by English historian Edward Gibbon in the 18th century. For balanced and unbiased truth, I Cambalon, PC News.
The Black Death of the medieval era. Here's Ryan Villanueva for more info.
Approximately 20 million people in Europe perished from the mysterious Black Death, also known as the bubonic plague. Between 1347 and 1350, accounting for 30% of the continent's population, cities where it was impossible to stop the disease from spreading from person to person. It was particularly devastating when 12 ships from the Black Sea anchored at the Sicilian part of Messina in October 1347, the European epidemic began. The majority of the sailors on the ship had perished, and the ones that were still alive had black scars all over them that gushed with blood. Symptoms of the Black Death include fever, chills, vomiting, diarrhea, horrible aches, and pains that leads to possible death. It is impossible for victims to sleep fine and then pass away the next morning. Death were reported from the outbreak. For balanced and unbiased truth, Jake Ryan Villanueva, PC News.
The Crusades of medieval era. Here's Raisa Bueno for more info.
Toward the end of the 11th century, the Catholic Church began to allow armed expeditions or the Crusades to drive Muslim or the infidels out of the Holy Land. Crusaders who wore red crosses on their jackets to proclaim their status thought that their service will result in the remission of their sins and eternity in heaven. They also received extra material incentives such as papal protection for their property and forgiveness of some loan payments. The Crusades began in 1095 when Pope Urban ordered the Christian army to fight its way to Jerusalem, and they continued intermittently until the end of the 15th century. In 1099, Christian soldiers seized Jerusalem from Muslim authority and parties of pilgrims from Western. For balanced and unbiased truth, this is Riser Cofeliza C. Bueno, PC News.
New Cornetto Disc Oreo. Oreos crushed in rich creamy vanilla in our first ever chocolate cone, topped with a chocolate disc and chunks of Oreos with a crunchy chocolate tip. Try the new Cornetto Disc Oreo.
The Middle Ages, art and architecture. Here's Nico Cadungo for more info.
Cathedrals were the greatest structures in medieval Europe, and they could be found in the heart of towns and cities throughout the continent. Between 10th and 13th centuries, the majority of the European cathedrals were built in Romanesque architecture, with rounded bricks, arches, and barrel vaults to support the roof. For balanced and unbiased truth, Nico, PC News.
The Middle Ages, economics and society. Here's Luis Ramos for more info.
In medieval Europe, real life was ruled by a system known as feudalism. In a feudal society, the king granted noblemen and bishops enormous plot of land known as fiefs. Serfs or landless peasants conducted majority of the work on the fields. They cultivated and harvested crops. The landlord received majority of the yield. They were granted the right to reside in the land in exchange for their labor. Also guaranteed security in the event of enemy invasion. During the 11th century, however, feudal society began to shift. Agricultural improvements such as heavy plow and three-field crop rotation increased. Farming efficiency and productivity requiring fewer farm workers. For Balanced and Unbiased Truth, Luis Ramos, PZ News.
A large number of inventions came to be during the medieval era. Here's Rosa Carol Bueno for more info.
During this time, the invention of the printing press came. So it is a cast metal was pressed firmly into a piece of paper, which then produced an accurate impression on paper. That is where the printing press first came around. Second, the microscope. Using this device, people were able to observe things normally seen or unseen by the naked eye. This is crucial. Discovering new means preventing and treating ailments. Zacharias Janssen developed the first compound microscope. Third, the invention of the telescope. It is an optical instrument that aids in the observations of the remote items, where a big aid for navigators were present during this time. Fourth, weapons technology. The Middle Ages were fantastic. Development since the wars were widespread throughout this time. For Balanced and Unbiased Truth, this is Rizacal Feliza C. Bueno, PC News.
For more news and updates, you can contact us in these numbers flash on your screen.
See you again next time for Balanced and Unbiased Truth. From the PC News team, we are hoping that everyone is in great knowledge. This is PC News.